Hey guys, King of Charmass here to be your judge, your jury, and your analyst, and today I bring to you my top 5 teams for the Evolution Cup. Every one of these teams has Vigoroth in it. I tried to find something that doesn't have one in it, and it's just really that good. So you could do without it, but the fact of the matter is Viggy is going to be very oppressive in this cup. Or Viggy beats things that would oppress other things in this cup. For example, Sealeo beats the dragons, Viggy beats that. And it's just, it really is. And this is a lesser known comments, but Haunter. One Bulldoze will one-shot Haunter. So just putting that out there. But this team is going, these 5 teams are going, they're very simple. The Evolution Cup is also going to have a lot of combinations where you could play out leads. So unlike Ultra or Masters, you're not getting XL to death, or if you get RP or like more like super RPSy versus the other ones around. Open Ultra League, you can kind of play out of losing this, but it's just what it is. Like, it's still, XLs dominate that cup so much that it's really annoying. But we finally have a Great League format back. But before we get started, it's going to be my therapist mental health tip of the day. And it's going to be really quick. Make sure y'all check up on your friends and family. Make sure you call your family, because one day they will be gone. You need your relationships to ground you in this world. We're human beings. Even though you can call yourself an introvert and everything like that, there's at least one human being that you vibe with. Or one human being that does actually add value to your life. So make sure you check upon your friends and family. Give them the call. Make sure you check up on them, and it might just help out with your own mental health as well. And without further ado, these are my top 5 teams for the Evolution Cup, and let's get started. Alright, for the first team, we got Sealeo lead, Dragonair as your safe switch, or Vigoroth. I would honestly use Dragonair though, and then you could close out whichever one is in the back. This team's really spammy. There's a lot. Sealeo works in this cup because it beats Golbat, it beats other flyers, and it beats a lot of the dragons, which, because Dragon Breath is so oppressive, you're going to see a lot of them around in this meta. So that's where Sealeo comes in, and you're going to see a lot of body slams being thrown around, just from Sealeo and Vigoroth. All teams are going to have a lot of really great coverage. Not a lot of bulk, though, because of everything here doing so much damage. Keep in mind, depending on, you don't want to switch a Vigoroth into someone else's Vigoroth because of the fact you don't want them to be ahead on energy. So what you can do is send in Dragonair instead. What Dragonair does is Dragonair loses the 2-shield matchup, but in all honesty, as you see here, it's left with 22 HP. So you'll break both shields if they decide to invest both shields to keep switch. And then as you see here, when you go to the zeros, bam. So Viggy will only have 22 HP left. Then you can farm down with Sealeo or with your own Vigoroth comfortably, and then throw all that energy at your opponent on the back. So, as you see, Machoke, Viggy is your... I already went over how to beat Viggy. Machoke is a little rough, but you basically just play the same thing for Viggy. Versus Dragonair, as you see here, yes, Dragonair can beat this thing in the 2-shield, just because Machoke is so squishy. So it's even though Machoke does beat everything that's not... It does have a good chance against everything that's not really a Golbat or a Dusclops, it doesn't do as well as Viggy for a lot of different combinations. So this team's really solid, especially if you have Sealeo. And if you have one from PvP a long time ago, like me, I literally have 2 PvP Sealeos built for PvP, just because Sealeo was really good before Walrein came out. Next up, we have Golbat, and then we have Vigoroth, and then Dragonair. So for Viggy, we have Viggy's your safe switch or Dragonair. Like I said, you can use either one. I already taught you how to play out of Viggy, but Golbat does very well against Viggy. So that's why Golbat is in the 2-shield. Golbat triple resist, or double resist counter, not triple resist. So Golbat double resist counter, and it can literally Poison Fang down the unholy crap out of poor Viggy. So Viggy doesn't really have a chance, even with body slams. It still comes out with 35, it still comes out with, it comes out very healthy. So you lose the lead with Golbat, which would probably be likely a Sealeo or something like a Dragonair, something that does a lot of damage. You could send in Vigoroth and Dragonair, and then Golbat can close out with Shadow Ball. As you see here, a very low threat score, 487. Zweilous is going to be your worst nightmare, but in all honesty, in the 2-shield, it's not that bad. Golbat has the ability to beat, like Zweilous. It can beat Zweilous in the 2-shield just because of Poison Fang damage. So that's what makes Golbat really solid outside of seeing a Sealeo, because Sealeo will absolutely just truck through Golbat. So this is why you have this back row. Sealeo versus Dragonair isn't too bad just because it doesn't have Icicle Spear. Yeah, that's a good, as you see, that's a good rating with 49. But what happens is that if you see a Sealeo, you send in your Dragonair, they're likely going to stay in unless they have a harder counter to Dragonair. Then you can farm down Sealeo with Viggy. And then after Viggy farms it down, then Golbat is free to rain the back row. So a lot of the times what you're trying to do is lock in Golbat onto Vigoroth, or draw out their weak, or more so just draw out Sealeo if they have it. And then farm it down, body slam the unholy crap of their back row, and then Golbat can close out with this team. Very low threat score. Golbat, it's really solid for this. Shadow Golbat, just because of the fact it has such a dominant Viggy matchup, and like I mentioned, with Zweilous, you can win the 2-shield. With Hakamo, with Hakamo, as you see, Hakamo also loses the 2-shield. I believe Dragonair is a little more on the rough side, but actually no, I think Golbat wins Dragonair. So yeah, I know it doesn't. I was right. So in the only dragon it doesn't beat is Dragonair in the 2-shield. So that's what makes Golbat super solid. But generally, you want to send in Viggy or Dragonair, draw out Golbat's weakness like the Sealeo, and then close it, and then just blast your opponent to death with Viggy, and then Golbat, Shadow Golbat in the back. Alright, next up we have Shadow Dusclops, Vigoroth, and Sealeo. So Dusclops is the number 6 lead just because it does so well against Viggy. It also has Ice Punch to take out the dragons. As you see, it doesn't have quite as dominating a matchup as Golbat, so just be wary that like bulldozes can hurt. Well, it does a fourth of your HP. It takes forever them to get to it. That's why Dusclops does so well. Shadow Dusclops also has access to Ice Punch, so you can cover dragons. However, in the 2-shield, a lot of the dragons can give you a hard time. Zweilous, if you stay in the 2-shield, as you see, Zweilous will come out with Body Slam energy and you'll lose the matchup. Against Hakamo, even though you're able to Ice Punch it to death, it can still win the 2-shield. So your goal is to bring all the dragons to the 1-shield. So if you lose the lead with Dusclops, you Safe Switch, and then in the 1-shield you can take out the dragons, but that's what we have Sealeo for, just for that extra dragon coverage. Your only weakness with this team, actually, you have multiple ones. I see Hakamo versus Viggy isn't a great matchup for either one, but Hakamo does lose the 2-shield. So if they throw their Haka into you, they will lose the 2-shield matchup even with an energy lead. So, as you see here. So it's kind of interesting because even though Alolan Graveler is good for this cup, it loses to Vigoroth. It also loses to all the dragons. So if so many of those are flying around and you lose the lead, you're not going to beat a lot of combinations unless you're in the zeros. That's why Alolan Graveler, even though it is a top lead, it loses to so many things that you can leave it in the back to throw into other mons, but then you're just trying to go for rock, paper, scissors because you want to win the lead and lock your opponent into Alolan Graveler. A key thing, and the thing about safe switches here, the most popular safe switches, most of them beat Alolan Graveler. So despite this fact that you have this Alolan Graveler weakness, you're not going to see a lot of A-grabs in this cup. That, or you have a lot of people that are really ballsy just because there's so many things that beat A-grab. You lose the lead with Dusclops, you Safe Switch into Viggy, and then Dusclops and Sealeo can close out. So you have Hakamo, Vigoroth, Safe Switch, and then Haunter in the back for Team 4. Amazing grades off the board. Like I said, not a lot of bulk for any team. The Haka's a top lead because outside of Sealeo, Dusclops, and Golbat, you pretty much beat everything else in the lead. That's why we have Viggy and Haunter to close out. Viggy can go ahead and break shields, and then Haunter can go ahead and farm mons down with Shadow Claw, or you can send in Haka to get that energy lead for Dragon Claws. So very simple team, and like I mentioned, Haka beats most leads in the 2-shield in this cup outside of its mirror match. Sealeo, Dusclops, or Golbat, or Haunter. Because in the 2-shield, Haunter loses the 2-shield, never mind, because it's so dang squishy. But as you see, in the 2-shield, Haka slaps. So, this is a very low threat score team. This is probably the team with the lowest threat score I've seen. Haunter closes out very well. And like I mentioned, with Haka and Dusclops, it's not a super bad matchup because it's so close. So you could choose to stay in here. You could choose to... it's so close, but the thing is, they're going to get an energy lead. So a good example is that what happens is that, yeah, they win this matchup, but say they send in Viggy into you, and then their Viggy's gonna beat your Viggy because of the fact that their Viggy has an energy lead. So, and Dusclops versus Vigoroth, let's explore that matchup. Yeah, you resist body slams and you resist those counters. However, one bulldoze will yeet you from the face of the universe. So without shields in the zeros, all it takes is one bulldoze to wipe you out. So just keep that in mind. What you can do is send in your Vigoroth, even though it's outside of an energy lead, to go ahead and try to do as much damage as possible. Then you could try to catch a body slam or something like that onto Haunter. That's probably your best win condition if you were to go against a Viggy in the back. But like I mentioned, super low threat score, win over the Viggy matchup, and Haka can 2-shield its way to victory in a lot of combination. And last but not least, we have ABB. We have Viggy Double Dragon. So, Viggy Double Dragon, the dragons are obscenely powerful in this cup just because they do so much damage. I already showed you how much Haka can beat in the 2-shield. And with Viggy, what you can do is send in either Dragonair or Hakamo, bait out that Sealeo, have Viggy farm down, and then blast the unholy crap out of your opponent's back row. Most of the dragons will beat a lot of different combinations in this cup, and that's why you see a lot of red X's here in this combination. You have Dragonair as your safe switch, and you have Haka as well. So you could do, or you could leave Dragonair in the back, but Dragonair is going to be your primary safe switch. Because when you have Dragonair versus, all you do is you get Dragonair against Sealeo, and then you're going to farm down Sealeo. Farm down Sealeo with Viggy, you can eat the body slam if you choose to, and then just absolutely truck your opponent with all that energy in the back. And then Haka, with those Dragon Tails, can do the last bit of chip damage you need to close out this matchup. And outside of seeing Haka lead, even though you see Haka leads, Haka versus Vigoroth isn't a bad matchup. The only thing you really have to watch out for is going to be Machoke. So as you see, Haka versus Vigoroth, Viggy doesn't have such a super bad matchup. Even though it loses even though it loses in the 2-shield, it's not that bad. Well, actually, Haka loses in the 2-shield. I mean the 1-shield. So even though you lose the 1-shield with Viggy, it's not that bad because you get to farm them down. In the 2-shield, Viggy can beat Haka straight body slams. So the dangerous thing about this cup is that whatever you farm down, it's going to be left over with energy. So you're either going to, 1, have to give up switch, or 2, let whatever is in front of you go. So, but this cup is going to be very good because this meta isn't like super, it's not like Master Premier Classic where if you get RPS, you're pretty much dead. There's a lot of things to play out of RPS with this meta. So that's what makes it really good. You lose the lead with Viggy, you send in Dragonair, and then like I mentioned before, Viggy can farm down, or Viggy or Haka, depending on what comes in. For example, if you see a Golbat, and then what happens with this is that for Golbat, you can send in Haka to farm it down, and then Viggy and Haka can close out with 2 shields. So it's a very solid team. Did well in practice, and Double Dragon, just because dragons do so much damage here, it's really good. The one thing I would be careful for, because I can see this thing running around, is this freaking Floette or whatever it is. So the thing about Floette, it even has to be an X-out. So it has to be an X-out level 44 in order for you to use it. But it does have a pretty good matchup against this team. The problem is its stats aren't that great. So even if you do see this thing, it's not so much of a threat, especially if you look here. Viggy can body slam its way to victory against Floette. It's not that great. But again, as far as ABB team goes, this team's really solid. Double Dragon is definitely the way to go if you want to play this. Even if you see Sealeo, you can, like I said, you can bait out Sealeo, farm down with Viggy, and then Haka and Viggy can close out. Or Dragonair, depending on which one you throw in. And that's game. You could probably compete in this cup without a Vigoroth, but in all honesty, it just really is that good. The reason why it's been so prominent in a lot of different cups, like for Open Great League, it's really good. For Great League Remix, it was top. Viggy body slam and counter is just way too oppressive. Even for the Little Cup, Vigoroth's really good. What you call it? Little Jungle Cup, I think that's what it is. Viggy is freaking amazing for that cup just because of counter and body slam being such a dangerous combination. So that's why Viggy is in every single team. Like I said, you could probably do without it if you have like a triple Viggy team, but if you have a triple counter Viggy team, a lot of the times there are other mons out here will probably run you over, or just because Viggy counter is just so freaking good. That's really the thing. But hopefully you're enjoying this, because Evolution Cup is going to be the time where, guess what, you finally have Great League back. And I am so freaking happy because of the fact that I am absolutely despise Ultra League and Master League now. I've had extremely terrible luck, or I've lagged in pivotal moments that cost me 4 1s and 3 2s. So I'm just like, I'm so over lag at this point that I'm just like, I just really don't care. But there's still plenty of time left in the season. I'm not stressed. I never stress about my ELO. I've made legend every season. Well, on the seasons I wanted to try, and it's just the same thing over and over again. So if you have a bad tune now, you're gonna find that one thing you get through, and you're gonna have that one. If you're a good player, you'll get that one cup where you'll just shoot to the moon like I always do. So I'm just gonna keep doing your battles, do your best, and hopefully they don't screw up Go Battle League they don't screw up PvP more than it is right now. But it's Niantic, so you never know, right? Do me a huge favor, please like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. I stream on Fridays through Sundays on Twitch. And as usual, I do wish you all the best Season 12 as it is so far. We still have a Go Battle League. There's still plenty of time left in the season. Don't stress, just keep tapping, do all your battles. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see y'all on the next video.